Hi guys, I'm Aryan. I've been doing competitive programming for 2 years now. I'm currently rated as a master on Codeforces and a 6-star programmer on CodeChef. Today, I'm going to discuss with you a problem named Chef and Dag, which appeared in the March 2020 long challenge on CodeChef. So let's jump into the problem. The problem states that you're given k permutations of integers 1 through n. You have to construct a directed acyclic graph such that each of the given permutations is a valid topological sort of the graph. The out degree of each node is at most 1, and the number of nodes with in degree 0 is the smallest possible. Now let's quickly go through the terminology. A permutation is a randomly ordered list of integers from 1 through n such that each integer from 1 to n appears exactly once. Now, a directed acyclic graph is a graph in which all edges are directed and there is no closed chain of two or more nodes in the graph. Now, there are three conditions that you have to satisfy with this directed acyclic graph. The first condition is that each of the given permutation is a valid topological sort of the graph. We'll discuss what this means later in the presentation. The second condition is that the out degree of each node is at most 1. And the third condition is that the number of nodes with in degree 0 is the smallest possible. So here we have two conditions which define the validity of the graph, and we have a third optimization parameter which defines how good our solution is. Okay, so let's analyze each of these parts individually. So the first part is the topological sorts. Okay, now what is a topological sort? Well, a topological sort of a directed graph G is a permutation such that for each pair of nodes I, J, if there is a directed edge from I to J in G, then I must appear before J in the topological sort. Let's look at the example below to understand this. The graph G has two valid topological sorts on the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 3, 4, 2, 5, 6. Okay, let's look at the edges of 1. 1 is connected to 5 to 6 to 3 to 4. If you look at both of the topological sorts on the right, 1 is always below 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Let's look at 3. 3 is connected to 5, 6, and 4. If you look at topological sorts, 3 is always before 4, 5, 6, right? And you can verify this for every edge in the graph. And as a viewer, I'd encourage you to do that. Okay, now let's look at the properties of a topological sort. The first property is that if I appears after j in the topological sort, there cannot be an edge from I to j in the graph. The second property is a topological sort can only be created from acyclic graphs, and therefore any graph created from a topological sort is by default acyclic. And the third property is a single graph can have various valid topological sorts. Now, how do these properties help us? Well, the first property shows us that topological sorts only limit which edges can be created in the graph, but they do not force any edge to be created. Therefore, if we were to create a graph that contained all valid edges from this topological sort, then our final solution will only be a subset of those edges. The topological sort does not force any edge to remain in the graph, right? The second property tells us that we don't have to take any extra steps to make the graph acyclic. Once we create a graph that is based on a topological sort, it will be acyclic by default. Let's see how we can use topological sorts to generate a directed acyclic graph. The graph G that we're generating must satisfy the k given topological sorts. So let's start from a complete graph G. That is, for all pairs of nodes I, J, let's create an edge from I to J and in the opposite direction from J to I. Then, for all pairs I and J, if I appears after J in any of the k topological sorts, then it will violate the first property of topological sorts, and therefore we must remove this edge from the graph G. After we do this for all pairs of nodes, we will have a valid graph on the topological sort. Let's look at an example. Here we have a directed graph G and we have three topological sorts on the left. Okay, let's look at the edges connected to 1. So 1 is connected to 5, 4, 6, 3, right? And 1 appears before 5463 in all three topological sorts. However, note that 1 is not connected to 2 simply because 2 appears before 1 in the third topological sort and 1 appears before 2 in the first two topological sorts. Therefore, neither an edge from 1 to 2 nor an edge from 2 to 1 will satisfy the conditions of a topological sort, and therefore we cannot have any edge between those nodes. And you can verify that these constraints are valid for all of the edges in the graph. Now let's look at the second condition, which was out degrees and in degrees. Before we actually analyze the condition, let's look at some important definitions for this condition. Now, the out degree of any node I is the number of edges directed away from I in the graph. The in degree of any node I is the number of edges directed towards I in the graph. The degree of any node I is the number of edges connected to I regardless of their direction. It is equal to the out degree plus the in degree. Now, an important node is a node in the graph whose in degree is greater than or equal to 1, and there can be multiple important nodes. The efficiency of a graph is the number of important nodes in the graph. Now, going back to the problem statement, the problem stated that we need to create a graph such that the number of nodes with in degree 0 is minimized. Now, conversely, this means that the number of nodes with in degree greater than 0 is maximized. And a node with in degree greater than 0 is an important node, and therefore we need to maximize the number of important nodes. Therefore, we need to maximize the efficiency of the graph, right? Now, to understand out degree and in degree, let's look at the slide. Now, on the left we have a graph G, and on the right we have a table with the out degree and in degree of each node in the graph. So let's look at node 1. It's connected to 4, 3, 6, 5. Therefore, the out degree is 4. There are no edges going into 1, so the in degree is 0, and the degree is 4 because it's out degree plus in degree. Similarly, the out degree of 3 is 3 because it's connected to 5, 6, 4. The in degree is 1 because there's an edge from 1 to 3, and the degree is 4 because it's connected to 4 edges in total. You can verify this for all nodes in the graph. Now, let's analyze the condition that we were given. We were given the condition that the out degree of each node must be less than or equal to 1. I would like to propose a conjecture that there always exists an optimal solution in which the in degree of each node is also less than or equal to 1. And the proof for this is simple. We need to maximize the efficiency of the graph G. So let's consider an optimal solution in which there are nodes with in degree greater than 1. So for all such nodes, let's say that in degree is x. Let's remove x minus 1 edges directed towards that node. Keep in mind that since we only removed x minus 1 edges, that node will continue to be an important node and the efficiency of the graph will not decrease. Therefore, we can always guarantee an optimal solution in which the in degree of each node is less than or equal to 1. How does this help us? Well, it gives us the additional constraint that the efficiency of G is equal to the number of edges in the graph. This is because each edge adds an important node to the graph now. Therefore, our reduced problem is this. Select a set of edges from G such that each node has out degree less than or equal to 1, each node has in degree less than or equal to 1, and the number of edges in the graph is maximum. Now, can we combine conditions 1 and 2 to get the final condition each node has degree less than or equal to 1? And the answer is of course yes. But to do this, we're going to have to explore something called bipartite graphs. Now, a graph is called a bipartite graph if its nodes can be divided into two disjoint sets. Let's call them set A and set B. Now, there can be edges between nodes in different sets. However, there cannot be any edge between nodes in the same set. So look at the diagram, we can see that there are many edges between nodes in set A and set B. However, there are no edges between nodes in the same set. Therefore, this is a bipartite graph. Now, how will bipartite graphs help us? Well, in the directed acyclic graph, we had n nodes and two constraints per node, right? We had a constraint regarding the in degree and a constraint regarding the out degree of each node. In a bipartite graph, we can do something by splitting each node into two parts. So let's call each node part A and part B, right? So you can have 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, 3A, 3B, so on and so forth. Now, we have created a graph with two n nodes. Now let's give each node a property, right? Let's say that part A of each node in the bipartite graph will handle the out degree of each node in the directed acyclic graph. Okay, so 1A will handle the out degree of node 1 and 2A will handle the out degree of node 2, so on and so forth. And let's say set B will handle the in degrees. So 1B will handle the in degree of node 1, 2B will handle the in degree of node 2, so on and so forth. And we can see that the number of constraints has remained the same. In the directed acyclic graph, we had n nodes and 2 constraints per node, so we had 2n constraints. In the bipartite graph, we have 2n nodes and 1 constraint per node, so we still have 2n constraints, right? Let's look at how we can convert G into such a bipartite graph. So let's create two sets of dummy nodes, set A and set B, with n nodes each in a new graph H. H is a bipartite graph. If there's an edge from I to J in G, then let's add an edge from IA, which is set A part of I, to JB, which is a set B part of J, in the bipartite graph H, right? Now H will be a bipartite graph with the same edges as G. However, our property that we mentioned in the previous slide will be maintained, and this is how. If you have an edge from I to J, it means that the out degree of I is being increased and the in degree of J is being increased. Like we said earlier, set A will handle out degrees, set B will handle in degrees. So we should add an edge from IA to JB. So finally we will have the degree of node IA in H will be equal to the out degree of node I in G, and the degree of node IB in H will be equal to the in degree of node I in G. And here we have a visualization of the conversion, right? We can see that the edges 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 6, 1, 5, and there are edges 1A to 3B, 1A to 4B, 1A to 5B, 1A to 6B. Okay, so with this conversion, our problem changes to select a set of edges from H such that the degree of each node is less than or equal to 1 and the number of edges in the graph is maximum. Now, this has helped us a lot actually because we can finally perform our optimization with a standard algorithm known as maximum bipartite matching. The maximum bipartite matching algorithm finds the maximum size set of edges in a bipartite graph such that the degree of each node is less than or equal to 1. And this algorithm runs in order of n cubed time complexity, which for n is equal to 500 should pass quite comfortably. Therefore, we can directly use the maximum bipartite matching algorithm on graph H to yield the final answer. And we can look at how this works, right? Our conditions earlier were we need to select a set of edges such that the degree of each node is less than or equal to 1 and the size of the selected edges is maximum. And the maximum bipartite matching algorithm performs this exact task. It finds a maximum size set of edges such that the degree of each node is less than or equal to 1. Right? So this algorithm is a direct implementation of exactly what we need. And it's a standard algorithm that you can find on Geeks for Geeks, and I will put the resource in the description. Okay? So here's just a visualization of how that algorithm works, and it just shows you how we've condensed the large set of edges we had in H initially to the set of edges that satisfy our conditions. And note that I did not generate these edges myself. I wrote code for bipartite matching which generated these edges, so you can verify that this algorithm has done exactly what we need, right? And now we can convert this bipartite graph back into a directed acyclic graph, and we have our final output. So this is the logic for the program, and I hope everybody here understood it. Now, before we leave, I want to analyze the time complexity of this code with you and show you a bit of the implementation. So the first step was creating a directed acyclic graph from topological sorts, right? So this is a function called DAG creator, which I've written. So let's see how that function works. So there's a matrix called edge exists of size n into n. Now if edge exists I, j is true, then it means that there is an edge from I to j. So how I mentioned earlier, we start with a complete graph. So I've said all edge exists ij to true. Now we go over all topological sorts, and for every pair ij such that I is greater than j, we're setting edge exists ij to false, and this is based on the first property of topological sorts. Once we've done this, we create an adjacency list of size n, and for each edge in the graph connecting I to j, we push j into adjacency list at I. And this is the standard graph creation algorithm that you can find online as well. So we can see that the time complexity of the first part is n squared because there are two nested loops that run from 1 to n. The time complexity of the second part is k into n squared because there are three nested loops. First x runs from 1 to k, then I runs from 1 to n, and then j runs from 1 to I. So therefore order of k into n squared. And the final loop is also order of n squared because there are two nested loops. I runs from 1 to n and j also runs from 1 to n, so therefore order of n squared. Okay. Now the second part of our code was converting our directed acyclic graph to a bipartite graph. Okay, and there's an interesting way in which I've stored the bipartite graph. Okay, so we had two sets, right? We had set A and set B. So I've stored set A at odd indices and set B at even indices. So 1A is at index 1, 1B is at index 2, 2 is at index 3, 2B is at index 4, so on and so forth. You can look at the get A and get B functions to understand how this works. So get A 1 will return 1, get B 1 will return 2, so on and so forth. Alright, now let's look at a function bipartite graph creator. So this function takes as a parameter the adjacency list of the directed acyclic graph, and inside the function it creates the bipartite graph adjacency list. The process for creating the bipartite graph is as follows. We iterate a variable I from 1 to n and a variable j over all of the edges of I. So for each edge in the directed acyclic graph from I to j, we push an edge from IA to JB in the bipartite graph. And therefore, this is an order of n squared algorithm since we're iterating over all elements in the directed acyclic graph, which are n elements, and inside that we're iterating over all edges of each element, and there can be n edges in each element, so there can be order of n squared iterations. Now let's analyze the final time complexity. The final time complexity is order of n squared plus k n squared plus n cubed, and the n cubed is from the maximum bipartite matching algorithm, which I have not shown since it's a standardly available algorithm Geeks for Geeks. So this sums up to an approximation of 10 to the power 8 operations, which should pass within 2 seconds as long as the code is well written. Now we have seen the solution to our problem, but before we leave, I'd like to show you a visualization of the algorithm to really help you understand it. So that's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any doubts, I will put my email in the description of this video, so feel free to message me with your doubts. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys understood.